could I please invite up the Mighty Condrias?
No mai, haere mai, ngā mihi. Kia ora, good evening, and welcome to the Mighty Mitochondrias presentation. I'm Samuel Lee, and I'm from Marlborough Boys College.
E kavo, Baoni. My name is Faith Arapa. I'm from Hawara High School in Taranaki.
Hi, I'm Corey Simon from King's High School in Dunedin.
Hello, I'm Huia Webby and I come from Whangarei Girls High School.
Hello, my name is Brianna Camden and I am from New Plymouth Girls High School in Taranaki.
This year, for Powering Potential, we were posed with the question: should regulation/legislation treat gene-edited organisms the same as genetically modified organisms? Well, the first thing we did was actually define them both. So a genetically modified organism, or a GMO, is an organism in which any of the genes or other genetic material has been modified by in vitro techniques. So these usually are made to plants, although soon in the future we'll be seeing animals whose DNA has been modified to include particular traits from other species and in turn produce favourable traits such as resistance to diseases. A genetically edited organism, or GEO, is when the DNA within an organism's genome is removed or altered. So, should we be treating them the same?
When we first got our question, the same response was instantly made by our whole group. Aren't they the same? Gene editing is when technology such as the CRISPR-Cas9 enzyme is used to pinpoint favourable or unfavourable alleles and make changes to the DNA. Therefore, it can be used on all organisms, including humans, as there are fewer risks, since only genes already present within the species gene pool are used, ensuring more predictable outcomes. In comparison, GMOs have several possible creation processes, many of which have unpredictable outcomes. For this reason, the GM technology is not used on humans and ultimately involve the mixing of genes between species. By using gene editing, minor changes can be made to the DNA. However, in doing so, genetically edited organisms can be hard to distinguish from other organisms. So it is important for us to be aware of them and mindful of the effects to the sector and our ecosystem.
New Zealand currently has the Hazardous Substances and New Organisms Act of 1996 regarding GMOs, but due to GEOs being developed from newer technologies, there is no regulations regarding them and they are treated as GMOs. The HSNO Act defines new organisms in several contexts, but basically, a new organism is an organism that did not previously exist in New Zealand before August of 1998. More specifically to us, the Act specifically states that all GMOs are new organisms due to the genes of different species being combined, creating new species like the horse apple seen before. The HSNO Act requires all new organisms to go through an approval process conducted by IRMA, the Environmental Risk Management Authority, where environmental risks, the placement of native species, and significant adverse health to human, animal, and plant health are taken into account along with other factors. Based on their findings, IRMA are able to grant different levels of approval to these new organisms. Due to this New Zealand legislation, this means that GMOs and GEOs are both treated as new organisms.
For a wider view, the European Union definition does not use the new organism idea like New Zealand, but still treats GMOs the same as GEOs, focusing on the unnatural nature of processes like CRISPR-Cas9 used to create the organisms. This begs the question, are GEOs new organisms or not? The answer becomes a big part of how GEOs should be treated under law. After researching this topic over the past few days, we believe that new regulations should be put in place in regard to genetically edited organisms. Our first proposal is that GEOs and GMOs should be defined separately along these lines. A genetically modified organism is an organism in which any of the genes or other genetic material which has been modified includes particular base sequences from other species. A genetically edited organism is an organism in which any of the genes or other genetic material which has been modified includes base sequences only from the particular gene pool of one single species.
Therefore, we propose that GEOs should be regulated via separate approval processes to GMOs. This would be necessary as GEO is of a much lower risk than GMO, so regulations concerning GEO would be less severe to encourage its use over GMO technology. Registration of GEOs should also be encouraged so that its use can still be controlled. We have reached the conclusion that a GEO should not be considered as a new organism, unlike GMOs, for no new alleles are introduced to the gene pool of the species. Such an organism could theoretically be created naturally. As it is difficult to detect gene editing in an organism, this further suggests that gene editing does not create a new organism. Therefore, our second recommended regulation is as follows. GEOs should not be classified under the New Organisms Act because the changes to the organism's genetic code are within the species gene pool. In addition, separate regulations for human and non-human GEOs should be imposed. Human genome editing, which may consist of either somatic edits used in the treatment of diseases or germline edits used in the elimination of diseases, are only to be used for direct health or medical applications. On the other hand, non-human genome editing should be restricted by the Universal Declaration on Animal Welfare.
So all the processes that result in a genetically edited organism and the outcome itself will need to take into the account the impacts on the environment, consumer choice, the health sectors, and the biodiversity of all the species. So here we are. After 3 days of hard work, these are our recommendations. We have all thoroughly enjoyed working in the team environment and are extremely thankful for this opportunity. However, before we leave you, we're going to leave you on this. Because our technology is advancing ever so fast, should our laws regarding these processes develop at the same rates?